Hey everybody, Professor Benlo here with a series of 3 short videos. This is video number 1, discussing Unit 2 discussion board. What I will do in this video is I will discuss the assignment in general. And then in the second video, I will discuss the first 3 topics that you can choose from. And then in the final third video, I'll be going over the last 3 topics that you can choose from. There's a total of 6 topics that you can choose from for this project. Alrighty, so away we go. Unit 2 discussion board. The initial post is due Friday, February 28th. It's important to recognize that this is broken down into 2 due dates. The first due date is a week from Friday, which will be Friday, February 28th. That's when your initial discussion board post is due, And in the initial discussion board post, you are answering the prompt. Okay, you are answering the prompt. You are analyzing the primary document that you chose. And the second due date is Tuesday, March 3rd. Your peer response post will be due that day. That is when you respond to 2 of your classmates. And after March 3rd, your response post will not be accepted. So don't get points taken right off the bat because you haven't either responded to your classmates in time or you didn't respond to them at all. Get this in. The key to the 5.5-week semester is getting things in on time and really even getting things done early and getting things submitted early. Don't let things snowball. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into your Unit 2 discussion board. The initial discussion board requirements, this is broken down into 3 sections. Don't be overwhelmed like this. Break it down into the 3 sections and you will be fine. So basically, you need to choose one of the primary source documents to analyze, and I'll be going over the topic list in a moment. First section is the context section worth 20 points. Name the document you chose to analyze. Who is the creator of the document? Briefly describe the creator of the document. And then when and where was the document created? That's the context section worth 20 points. That's your introductory section. Summary is worth 20 points. You're going to actually summarize the document that you are analyzing, the primary document that you are analyzing. What's the topic or issue that's discussed in the source? What's the creator's main point about the topic? And what's one interesting thing said in the source? That should all be covered within the summary worth 20 points. Okay, thirdly and lastly for the initial discussion board post is the connections section, which is worth 15 points. Does this source help you better understand the topic you learned about in the Unit 2 learning materials? Basically, the question you should be answering is, how did reading this document or watching the YouTube video help you to better understand the Unit 2 learning materials, in particular in telepath? Okay, that's the key question you're answering in this section. And does this source support what you already knew about this topic? If so, how? Or does this source change the way you think about this topic? If so, how? So that is what's due February 28th. You're probably thinking, okay, great, I have to analyze a primary document, but what is a primary document? A primary document is a document that was written during a specific era of history that you are studying. For example, the Declaration of Independence is a primary document from the American Revolution, okay? And Gettysburg Address by President Abraham Lincoln is a primary document from the American Civil War, okay? I'm going to go over what the primary documents are for each of the sources. But anyway, so if you are still hung up on what a primary document is, here are some great sites that give you incredible definitions of what a primary document is. Okay, so this is your topic list. The Bay of Pigs. Within the Bay of Pigs topic, you will be analyzing a letter written by Richard N. Goodwin, who was a presidential advisor to President Kennedy. He wrote the letter to President Kennedy regarding the Bay of Pigs in 1961. So you're going to be analyzing that document. The Cuban Missile Crisis is the next topic. The Cuban Missile Crisis occurred in October of 1962, and this is actually a YouTube video of President Kennedy giving a speech to the nation regarding the Cuban Missile Crisis. So that's an interesting one as well. So the primary document is your YouTube video of the speech that Kennedy made. Okay, the third topic is Vietnam War protests. This is a speech given by John Kerry in front of Congress regarding protesting the war, why we shouldn't be involved in the war. So that's important as well. The fourth topic is the women's rights movement. This is the founding document for National Organization of Women, or NOW, and basically it states the purpose of National Organization of Women. So very important to women's rights movement. The Chicano rights movement is an article regarding Cesar Chavez and an interview with Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was very influential in Chicano rights movement. Cesar Chavez formed the United Farm Workers Organization to help migrant farm workers. And Black Power is an article basically discussing the status of the civil rights movement and the rise of the Black Power movement and the Black Panthers. Okay, so those are your primary documents. There's a ton of research information out there on any of these. So just dive into the one you feel is most interesting. My second video, I will be going over the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Vietnam War protests. And the third short video, I'll be going over the women's rights movement, the Chicano rights movement, and Black Power. So stay tuned for those, please. Peer responses, this is what's going to be due March 3rd. You need to respond to 2 of your classmates about their initial discussion board post. And I love my students. You all are very supportive of one another. But don't leave it at great job, John, great job, Sue. You need to actually tailor your response to your classmate's post. And you need to answer the following 4 questions within your response post. Firstly, what did you learn from your classmate's post? Secondly, are there connections between what you learned from your source and what you learned about their source? Third, what is one interesting thing you learned from your fellow student's post? And lastly, what clarification do you need regarding the post? Okay, the grading criteria sheet. This is exactly what I will be using to grade your discussion boards. Okay, so use this as a blueprint when you're putting together your Unit 2 discussion board. So firstly, context. Student identifies the creator, including a brief description. Student identifies when and where the document was created. My comments, how many points out of 20? Secondly, the summary. Student fully summarizes the document, identifying the main topic, the main points, and at least one interesting detail. My comments, how many points out of 20? Connection. Student identifies connection between the primary source and the unit learning materials. Student includes a discussion of how the source expanded or changed their previous knowledge. My comments, how many points out of 15? Peer responses. Student responds to at least 2 of their peers. You respond to your peers by that March 3rd deadline, and you will get the 10 points. Okay, easy as that. Response content. Peer responses add new depth or insight to the current conversation and encourages further conversation. Encourages further conversation, I feel, is key. My comments, how many points out of 5? Academic writing. Student uses proper spelling, punctuation, and grammar to write clearly and effectively. References, if provided, are in APA format. My comments, how many points out of 5? Okay. So remember, this is broken down into the 2 due dates, everybody. The initial discussion board post is due Friday, February 28th by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then your peer responses are due March 3rd by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And remember, after March 3rd, I will no longer accept your peer responses. Okay. All right, that is it for this short video. The next video, we will be going over the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Vietnam War protests. So stay tuned, everybody.